Hey everybody, I'm Wayne. Welcome to the channel. Today is going to be a little bit different with not really any specific information about mandolin playing, but just having a good conversation about good practice habits, which is always going to be one of our topics here because it does matter. If you haven't ever kept a log book of what you're doing or wrote down ideas, or not really ideas, but just things that you know that you need to target in your playing. If you don't break down what you do into different components and kind of look at it that way, you might not even really know how to rehearse or how to best manage the time that you have to spend doing it. So I've made some notes here. You guys can maybe jot this kind of thing down as we go. It might do you good just to write some stuff down and take a look at, if are you really targeting anything when you play, because that's how I feel. I can ask a student, what are you working on right now, and the answer might be, man, I'm really into Billy Strings. And then I'll say, well, play something that he does, I'd like to hear you do it. And I get this blank stare. So you're not really into that if you're not learning it. If you're into something, then you're trying to memorize the melody, know the chords to that song, and be a strong rhythm player, and to be able to improvise over those chords if the song could be approached that way and still be tasteful musically. All of those things are going to be, that's when you're really into something, is when you're working on it. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have music that you love to listen to. We all need that. There should be albums that you know really by heart. Let me just start with that topic. For in today's world, and YouTube is a great thing and a powerful tool, but we have so much at our fingertips that it could really be overwhelming, because we just kind of go from one approach or one topic to another one with no real focus. And even listening to music, you should have albums that you're so in love with that you just know the record forward and backward. Some examples of that for me would be Bela Fleck's Drive album, which is a tremendous instrumental recording. The 0044 JD Crowe record is one of those albums under the bluegrass hat or bluegrass topic that I would definitely recommend. If you're into bluegrass, you should know that record front to back. As far as things a little further away from the traditional sound, even more so than Bela's record, the Tony Rice recording Mar West is a record that I know really well. So whatever it is that you're into, if it's Billy Strings, listen to something that he's done and try to dissect all the different parts. Listen to the arrangements for how they put the music together. That could give you ideas. If you hear something in that music and you think, well, I wonder if this would work right there, write that down, make a note of it, or record yourself talking about it on your phone so that you can go back to it later and get into rehearsing. Some of the notes that I had, because I don't really, for me, there's when I get the mandolin out of the case, I have a goal in mind for the session that's in front of me, because you should always be working on memorization of a new tune, like fiddle tune that you're going to play. There should always be something on your radar that you're trying to get better at executing, so that we become better players on mandolin physically, that your left and right hand coordination and your technique. There should always be something on your list of things that you potentially might do when you get the mandolin out of the case. You got to have that. Fretboard study for if number 2, if we're going to put numbers on these, there should be scales, arpeggios, something about the fretboard that you're just learning a particular mode of a scale in first position that you've discovered really helps you to improvise over a song. Then you want to play that scale in broken thirds, broken fourths, play it in fifths, sixths, sevenths, all the way through those different intervals. Really take that as a look at it like it's an opportunity to get that one really down, because it's going to be relevant to something that you're playing. So let these different categories work together, that your fretboard study would actually be enabling you to improvise better over a tune. That's my next kind of, like I say, almost like components of different things that we need to figure out what we need to work on, which baskets to put eggs in. Improvisation, if there's a chord progression and you're trying to follow it with a series of arpeggios and play within these chords, target that and slow it down and really work on it. So if you have 45 minutes to play, that you walk away from it just a little bit better, that you move the needle on doing that. Chart reading, I put that down. If you are in a situation playing at church, maybe you even play some sessions for somebody, and you feel like, man, I'm not really exactly comfortable with being able to do this, then target it. Anything that you feel like that, make a big deal out of trying to get better. Tremolo, I put this down as a thing too, because a lot of people really struggle with it. And this is that 2-for-1. Here's a technique thing that so take a tremolo technique and target a particular, let's say, double stop scale, because those things go hand in hand on mandolin, double stops being played with tremolo technique. Let's go through a particular scale, or maybe 3 or 4 different ones that you really don't, if you're honest with yourself, you don't have that down yet. It's not just automatic to know where those intervals come together on the fretboard using or taking advantage of open strings. So put those, let's get 2 birds with 1 stone. Tremolo through that double stop scale, and both of those things can grow. So it's, all of these things we need to be, you have to hold yourself accountable if you're not in a situation that does that for you, like playing with a local band. There's an accountability there. If you show up for rehearsal and you don't know your stuff, everybody's going to be disappointed with you. Nobody wants to be that guy that shows up and doesn't know the stuff that you're supposed to know, because it makes you look lazy and it makes you look like you don't really care about your musicianship. So you want that accountability. If you're not playing with a regional band, or if there's nothing that really puts a time restraint on how long it is that you can work on something, try to create that for yourself, or at least as you measure your playing, be honest with yourself. Record yourself playing, it's at Halloween, and then listen to that recording come Christmas. Play the same stuff again and be honest and say, am I better? Do I execute this better? Do I play it with more authority if it's something that really needs to be right on top of the beat, like in the bluegrass world? Or as an improvising player, does it sound freer and like you're just letting the moment happen? Or does it still sound like you're kind of bogged down in trying to understand exactly what happens with the chords? But record yourself and then listen back to what you do a certain whatever time. It could be 6 months later. I think it's important to measure our growth in, definitely not in 1 week, certainly not in 1 practice session, even though there's going to be times that when you put the mandolin back in the case, you feel an amazing sense of accomplishment. But it's way more likely that you feel that way about your playing if you target a specific goal. And little by little, each one of those goals can grow. So now that we kind of have a list of different things to focus on, we can't do all of those in 1 session with our mandolin. So try to spread those out. If you're able to practice every day, which I feel like most people should be able to. What I have to do, if time is really that, if I'm that busy, I kind of have to shave it off of the amount of time that I sleep. If there's something that I really want to work on, and I'll do that, and then I'll think to myself, which one of these things that's on my plate, which I'm not writing it down, I just kind of have all of that filed away mentally. What would be the smartest thing for me to work on with this time? And begin to think of it like that, and that'll become your new normal. And then it's way more likely that you move the needle on your overall musicianship if you focus on one thing at a time, target those goals, be smart about it, think about what's going on as you listen to yourself play, target the places that you need to improve the most, and then you will feel better. When you listen to that recording 3 months later and you hear that you're playing better, you can just do it on, you don't have to have recording software and microphone setup and all that. Just do it on your phone. We have everything that we need basically in our pocket, but try to focus on these things. Don't be distracted by everything that we see on YouTube. If you hear somebody playing something that's really, if you're honest with yourself, it's beyond what you're ready for yet, then don't get bogged down and try to and bite off more than you can chew. But at the same time, don't feel like that you can't accomplish things on your own. But be careful how much tab you use. Most people, I think, are more capable of learning melodies without that if they would just give it a chance. And I feel like you would have more of a sense of accomplishment. Tab is a good thing, but it can be bad if it's overdone, or if you never grow your ear to get to the point that you can really hear a melody and figure it out and know the scale of the key that you're playing out of, or the series of chords, and use that information to help learn the melody. We all need that. That's a really important part of growth, to be able to learn melodies. What's going to happen if you have a friend who writes a tune and there's no tab available for it? So we want to develop that skill set. So just be careful, not too much tab. But I hope, all of this works, and, slow things down. If you're trying to develop speed, then the secret to playing faster is playing slower. You got to straighten things out and try to get it right. I have a video about that very topic, developing fast tempo. Most of what I'm talking about today, at some point, I hope to have a video that zeroes in on each one of these categories to help you somewhat learn how to rehearse. Because if you're not thinking about a specific thing, how to make yourself get better at it the most efficient way, then you don't have a chance to grow. And if you don't have exact things that you're working on, you can't really expect to grow and get better and become a better mandolin player if you're not specifically trying to work on areas of weakness. Okay, a lot of this might have sound like, maybe like, man, this is a kind of a crappy session today, but I think it needs to be said, and I think most people could benefit from taking a good look at yourself and just be honest about how hard you're really trying and how organized we are with practice. Okay, I hope this helps. You can look for videos that would target these specific things that I'm talking about. If they're not, some of them may already be up by the time I make this public, and if not, hopefully they're on the way soon. You guys subscribe to the channel if you think it helps.